Hello and welcome. It is 2 o'clock. It is the 6th day of June 2021. It's my parents' anniversary. The sun is out. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, and it's time for some surprising RPG/WOTC news. Yes, I know. I said, well, I'm not going to talk about WOTC because that gives them attention. But then, of course, since part of the whole thing of this channel is role-playing news, I sort of have to talk about it. I don't have to like them, but, I have to remain impartial because I am a respected broadcaster. I even have a degree in broadcasting. Anyways, some news sort of snuck through the door about 20 minutes ago, and I don't know. So let me just paraphrase. I don't know how close to accurate this is. I'm not even sure Wizards of the Coast meant for this to be released yet. But apparently Amazon posted some coming soon information up about the 2 forthcoming books from Wizards of the Coast. Now, we know that they said there'd be 2 more before the year's over. And we know we have a big live D&D thing coming up like any day now, where they're going to, do like they did with Stream of Eyes and all the other ones where they announce what the next end of the year thing is. It's not, I don't think the big thing coming, the big live online thing that's coming up, is it like next week? I know it's real soon. It's going to be Ravenloft, but I could be wrong. It could be a Ravenloft weekend. But if there is 2 new things coming out, this is usually how they do it. They've also said that they're going to revisit 2 of the classic settings. Of course, they also said they were never going to revisit the classic settings, and then they made Ravenloft. The number one guess for is Planescape, or some variation of Planescape will be one of the 2 big settings, and the other one's probably going to be Dragonlance in some form. And we knew that there was going to be more of the D&D Magic set, especially since D&D and Magic are slowly intermingling with the Forgotten Realms core set coming out any day now, and more D&D Magic conversions and whatever. So 2 things have been posted on Amazon of the 2 forthcoming projects. One should be no surprise. It's a Magic thing. The other one, I'm sort of curious about. So without further ado, here we go. This is what Amazon posted, and this was last night at 3 a.m., so according to Amazon, the next 2 D&D hardcovers are The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, a Feywild adventure. So this is the big adventure for the end of the year. And the weird thing is that it's got the Dungeons and Dragons trademark on it, but it also has the Fantasy Grounds trademark on it. And it's set in the Feywild. Which I guess is the D&D version of the Realm of the Fairy, Avalon, Tatiana, that kind of shit. It says here, the next big adventure storyline that brings the wicked whimsy of the Feywild to 5th edition for the first time. Haven't Pixies and Fairies already been in 5th edition? I mean, it's a huge thing. There's a Fey Blood Sorcerer, the Fey Pact Warlock. So anyways, we got a picture of the cover, which features some kind of goblin-looking fellow standing on top of a circus big top, because, of course, whenever you do pixies and fairies, you always do circuses for some reason. And then next to him is sort of a spooky-looking, maybe orc, holding a pocket watch, because I guess there's pocket watches in Dungeons & Dragons now, wearing a top hat, and looking sort of like a James Bond villain, and holding in his other hand what looks like a batarang. I don't know if this is a recognizable character from Forgotten Realms lore or somebody new, but apparently he's probably the main bad guys. The weird thing, though, is the Fantasy Grounds mark on it, unless this is going to be both digital and physical. And let's face it, the future of the products are probably going to be more and more digital and less physical, because it's just cheaper. We're not sure how valid this cover is. It could just be place filler art. But yeah, I don't know what circuses have to do with Dungeons and Dragons fairies. That seems to be, well, but then yeah, I mean, there's no historical accuracy in D&D, so sure, you can have a circus and a guy with a stopwatch, pocket watch, wandering around in fantasy medieval D&D land. And the next one, and this Feywild one is scheduled to be the September release. So chances are this is the thing we'll see at the big live con that they're doing. And the second one, which will be released in November, and this is the one that shouldn't come to any surprise to anybody, is the next Magic set being converted to D&D. Strixheaven. The book is called Curriculum of Chaos. It's set in the world of Strixhaven. It brings all the stuff from Strixhaven over to D&D. Strixhaven is basically Harry Potter for D&D. It's a school of magic that exists sort of in the Forgotten Realms, but also not in the Forgotten Realms. It's got 5 rival colleges to reflect the 5 colors of magic. On the cover, we've got a Luxodon holding looks like a glass-blowing thing. We've got a young, spunky black girl with glasses, of course, holding a ball of light and a book. We've got a spooky-looking woman whose hair has Christmas lights in it. We've got a wicked-looking Draco Malfoy type with military uniform type thing with what looks like a smoky snake coming out of his hand. And then we have another elf girl who's dancing around on fire and has a cloak made out of lightning and stuff. So I guess those are the schools that it represents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have the metalsmithing, I guess, artifacting school. We got, I don't know what the girl holding the ball of light in the book represents, maybe the divination and pure magic. Then we've got like the spooky looking girl with the Christmas lights in her hair, so she's probably nature magic. Then we've got the Draco Malfoy guy, so he's either military magic or shadow magic. And then we got our elf girl who's on fire with lightning and snow, so elemental magic. So it's July 16th and 17th is the new stream. I knew it was coming up, and there'll be information on both coming up. So, yeah. So what do we think? Strixhaven's comes as no surprise to me. I don't know, maybe this could be sort of a D&D for kids kind of thing, because Strixhaven was sort of a for kids kind of magic set. Without going too much into magic, Strixhaven felt sort of like another restart Portal kind of thing. Like, here's a simpler version of magic, easy to get into, very recognizable in the Harry Potter school setting. Great way for kids who maybe haven't played yet to start playing it. It definitely felt, from what I looked at and when I talked to people at my local game store, Cess Games and Anime here in Ventura, that was more of like a magic set for kids. So maybe this will be a D&D for kids thing? I don't know. Or probably it's just going to be, here's more options to mess up your D&D game with. Now we're stealing from yet another magic set. Even though, really, magic school magic set is Harry Potter magic D&D. But, we knew they were going to do more magic sets. The fairy one, spooky carnival, James Bond villain, jesters. I don't get this one. I really don't. This just seems like padding for stuff that we already saw in Ravenloft. I mean, the Feywild could just be a realm in Ravenloft. Is the Feywild a thing in the Forgotten Realms? I don't know. That one, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. Of course, we haven't really had any idea what they've been thinking over at Wizards of the Coast for a long time. Be nice to have a spooky circus set of figures, though, so that could be fun. I mean, we haven't really had spooky circus figures since Horror Clicks that I'm aware of. I think there are, some other games do Spooky Circus. Spooky Circus is such a cliche. I'm sure there's been so many other games that do miniatures have done spooky circus figures, but spooky circus magic figures and like with a big spooky tent for the $100 thing, that could be cool, even if you're not a D&D guy. Spooky circus figures and a spooky circus tent set up for your figure, that I can see that, and that could be cool. I mean, who doesn't want a spooky circus in their game? Because spooky circus works for any game. You can have space spooky circus, fantasy spooky circus, superhero spooky circus, $100, put it together yourself. Big set piece of a big spooky circus tent. Figure wise, that's gold. I would love to see the figures from that if they do it. Theme wise, I don't see why. What do you mean the Feywild hasn't been in 5th edition before? Literally, you look at the basic book. There's 2 different things. It's all over the place. And then the monster manual's filled with pixies. I mean, Feywild, Fey magic, it's just part and parcel with the whole hobby. I think the Feywild's part of the Forgotten Realms. I don't know anymore. But I don't see why it needs a book. But I guess that is going to be our big summer blockbuster from them for the July thingy. I mean, it'll sell. We know it'll sell. The Strixheaven D&D for kids is great, but there are better ways to do D&D for kids than D&D. D&D is actually a horrible system for kids. But making RPG that is kid appropriate is cool. But 5th edition doesn't work with kids at all. I've tried. So yeah, no, it's completely inappropriate for kids. So I don't see the point of Strixhaven other than more options. But the Feywild, even though it might be a really sucky product, I'm excited about the potential figures we could see from Feywild. That gets me cool because, again, who doesn't love spooky circus? Anyway, there's some surprise news. I'm sure we'll have some more of it tomorrow. I've wasted way too much of your time talking about it. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming. If you appreciate this content, comment down below, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification button. Help me hit 500 subs by August 4th, and we'll step into the Feywild and be all spooky. Here we go. Spooky, 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 spooky.